There is an ancient knowledge that spans generations, whispered only among those who dare to look beyond the veil of matter, a secret so profound that, when revealed, it completely transforms our relationship with existence. Cayce guarded this knowledge with reverence, not out of fear of sharing it, but because he knew that humanity needed to be ready to understand that death is not the end we fear, but the awakening the soul always knew would come. Prepare your heart, for what you are about to discover will forever change how you see not only death, but every precious moment of this life. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine yourself in a state of pure consciousness, floating in a dimension where time as we know it does not exist. In this elevated plane, your soul reunites with beings of light, spiritual masters who have accompanied you for countless incarnations. There, in a divine council, decisions are made with surgical precision. You choose not only your family, your body, or the lessons you will need to learn, but also the exact moment you will leave this physical plane. This moment, etched into the deepest fibers of your spiritual being, is not a death sentence. It is a prearranged meeting point between you and eternity. Think of it as a sacred agreement, a cosmic alarm programmed even before your first breath in this world. When the invisible clock strikes the right time, no matter what is happening around you, your soul recognizes the call. Many wonder how accidents, sudden tragedies, or fatal illnesses can exist if everything is preordained. The answer is deeper than it seems. What we call an accident is merely how our limited minds interpret an event that on a spiritual level was already written. The soul does not see tragedy where purpose is fulfilled. It sees only the return home, in the way that was agreed upon. Imagine an actor who accepts a role in a play. He knows from the first rehearsal when his character will leave the stage. Throughout the performance, he lives each scene intensely, but a part of him always knew that this would be the final moment. It's the same with us. We live fully, we love, we suffer, we create, but somewhere deep within our consciousness, there is a silent knowledge about our last act. This contract wasn't made on a whim. Each soul chooses its departure date based on a complex spiritual calculation. How many lessons do I need to learn? What karmic debts must I settle? What seeds of love and wisdom did I come to plant? The moment of death is in fact the deadline for a divine project. When everything that needed to be lived has been lived, when all the pieces of the puzzle have fallen into place, the soul simply recognizes that it's time to go home. There are accounts of people who survived brutal accidents when it wasn't their time, and succumbed to seemingly simple situations when their moment arrived. This is not luck or misfortune. It is the mathematical precision of the universe honoring the agreement we made before birth. Nothing is outside of divine control, and understanding this transforms the fear of death into respect for the sacred mystery of life. When we accept that our departure has already been carefully planned by ourselves, in a higher state of consciousness, we cease to be victims of fate. We become conscious co-creators of our journey, living each day not with the dread of the end, but with the certainty that each moment has purpose and profound meaning. Have you ever noticed how some people, weeks or months before they pass away, begin to act differently? They distribute their belongings with unusual detachment, make calls to people they haven't spoken to in years, resolve old issues with inexplicable urgency. It's not a coincidence. It's the soul whispering to the human consciousness that the waking time is approaching. There is a specific frequency that settles in when the soul begins its farewell process. The physical body, which has always vibrated at a certain density, subtly begins to lessen its anchoring to matter. It's as if the threads that bind the spirit to the body begin to loosen, one by one, delicately. Meanwhile, spiritual sensitivity expands. Dreams become more vivid, almost prophetic. Messages arrive through symbols, repeated numbers, improbable encounters. Many people report a strange feeling of constant déjà vu in the months leading up to their departure. They feel they have already lived that moment, already know that conversation, and in a way they are right. The soul, which already knows what is to come, allows fragments of that knowledge to leak into waking consciousness, preparing the human being for the transition. Another striking sign is the sudden need to forgive and ask for forgiveness. People who have carried grudges for decades suddenly feel an irresistible urge to seek reconciliation. It's not a personality change. It's the soul clearing the path, ensuring that no unnecessary weight is carried to the other side. Each forgiveness granted is a thread cut, baggage left behind. Have you ever witnessed an inexplicable change in someone close to you shortly before they passed away? Share your experience in the comments, and if this content is touching your heart, leave a like so that more people can awaken to these sacred signs. There is also a peculiar lightness that takes hold of those who are close to the crossing. Worries that once seemed monumental lose their insignificance. Problems that consumed energy simply cease to matter. It's as if the person begins to see life from a higher altitude, where everyday turbulences seem too small to deserve attention. This peace does not come from resignation, but from the inner certainty that everything is all right, that the plan is unfolding perfectly. Cayce described this period as the thinning of the veil. The boundary between worlds becomes so tenuous that the person begins to perceive presences, hear voices of deceased loved ones, and feel the company of spiritual guides. To an outside observer, it may seem like delirium or mental confusion, but those experiencing this transition know it's the opposite. For the first time in a long time, they are seeing with absolute clarity. There is a phenomenon documented by medicine, but poorly understood by science: terminal lucidity. Days, sometimes just hours before death, people who were in a deep coma, confused by dementia, or debilitated by neurodegenerative diseases, suddenly awaken. Their eyes regain their sparkle, they recognize family members, articulate coherent thoughts, and even demonstrate a profound understanding of what is happening. Doctors call this the brain's last energy reserve. But those who understand the mysteries of the soul know that it is not the last gasp of the physical mind. It is the spirit taking control, preparing to leave the bodily vehicle. At that moment, consciousness is no longer imprisoned by the limitations of the diseased brain. It is freed, and the person is finally able to say goodbye with full presence. Many who have gone through this experience alongside loved ones report profound conversations where the person about to depart reveals wisdom they had never expressed before. They speak about life after death with a quiet certainty, give specific instructions to those who remain, and convey messages filled with love and forgiveness. There is no fear in their eyes. There is a serenity that can only come from someone who knows exactly where they are going. This awakening is not a medical miracle. It is the soul reminding the body who is truly in control. Throughout life, we identify so much with the physical that we forget that we are, first and foremost, spiritual beings living a temporary material experience. But when the contract nears its end, this hierarchy is reversed. The spirit reclaims its place of sovereignty, and the body, finally obedient, allows consciousness to shine unfiltered. There are even more fascinating accounts of people who, in this final period of lucidity, begin to describe what they see on the other side. They speak of luminous gardens, of deceased relatives waiting for them, of an indescribable music emanating from everything. These visions are not hallucinations caused by lack of oxygen or medication. They are windows opened between dimensions, allowing the person transitioning to see two worlds simultaneously. Cayce always emphasized that moment of clarity before departure is a divine gift. It is the opportunity to end incarnation consciously, to look into the eyes of those we love and say, without words, that all is well. It is the confirmation that death is not a violent kidnapping of life, but a gentle passage to another form of existence. When we understand this, our presence alongside those who are departing changes completely. We stop trying to desperately hold them back in the physical world and begin to honor their journey. We hold their hands not to prevent them from leaving, but to give them the courage to cross the bridge that awaits them. And in this gesture of love and liberation, both those who depart and those who remain experience an indescribable grace. The moment of physical death is simultaneously the most feared and the most misunderstood moment of human existence. We have been taught to see it as a turning off of the lights, a brutal interruption of consciousness, but those who have had near-death experiences have brought accounts that completely contradict this belief. What happens is not an end, but such a vast expansion of consciousness that human words can hardly describe it. At the exact moment the heart beats its last and the lungs exhale their final breath, something extraordinary happens. Consciousness, which was confined within the tight limits of the physical body, is suddenly freed. It's as if you've spent your whole life looking at the world through a straw, and suddenly the straw disappears and you can see 360 degrees simultaneously. Cayce described this moment as passing through a curtain of light. There is no pain in this passage. All the suffering that existed in the ailing body simply ceases. What emerges is a lightness so profound that many describe it as ecstasy. The person sees themselves floating above their own body, observing the scene with serene detachment. There is no confusion or fear. There is only an instantaneous understanding. Ah, so that's it. I was never this body. I have always been this that is observing. In this state, the perception of time disappears. Past, present, and future merge into an eternal now. The soul can simultaneously see its entire recently ended life and glimpse what awaits it. It is a state of temporary omniscience where questions that have tormented it for decades are answered in a flash of pure understanding. Many report the presence of luminous beings at this time. Some recognize family members who had already passed away. Others perceive spiritual guides who have always been by their side, invisible during their physical life. These presences do not appear to judge, but to welcome, guide, and reassure. They emanate such unconditional and profound love that the person finally feels at home, truly loved and accepted for the first time. What we call the tunnel of light, so often reported, is not a physical corridor. It is the vibrational path that consciousness travels as it raises its frequency from the material plane to the spiritual. The light that is seen is not external, but the very essence of the soul revealing itself in its original purity. The more a person has lived with love and awareness, the brighter and gentler this light is. Cayce warned that this moment can be disturbed by intense attachments. Souls leaving the body filled with fear, anger, or despair may have difficulty fully crossing the portal. They remain trapped in an intermediate zone, confused, still believing they belong to the physical world. Therefore, how we live and the state of consciousness we cultivate are so important. They determine not only how we die, but where we go after death. One of the greatest distortions humanity has imposed on the mystery of death is the idea of a divine tribunal, with a stern judge weighing our actions on an unforgiving scale. This image, fueled by centuries of fear-based religious doctrine, has led us to believe that punishment or reward awaits us on the other side. But the truth revealed by Cayce is infinitely deeper and more compassionate. There is no angry God waiting to condemn us. What exists is something far more transformative, a review of life. In this process, the soul is not judged by an external entity, but is confronted with each moment of the existence it has just lived. It's like watching the complete movie of your life, but with a crucial difference. You don't just see through your own eyes. You feel through the heart of every person you touched. Imagine reliving an argument where you hurt someone with harsh words. In this reliving, you will not only remember what you said, you will feel in your own soul exactly how the other person felt upon receiving those words. The pain you caused becomes your pain. The humiliation you inflicted becomes your humiliation. There is no escaping the absolute truth of your actions and intentions. But the opposite is also true, and therein lies the transcendent beauty of this process. Every act of kindness you performed, every smile you offered, every hand you extended, returns multiplied. You feel the genuine gratitude of the person you helped anonymously. You experience the relief of the one who received your forgiveness. You experience the love you planted in hearts that may never have verbally expressed how important you were. This process is not punishment. It is pure learning. The soul, freed from the illusions and defenses of the ego, finally manages to see with total clarity the real impact of its existence. There is no way to lie, justify, or rationalize. There is only the naked truth of its choices and their consequences. And in this truth, the soul learns more in a few moments than in decades of physical life. Many, when going through this process of self-reflection, feel a deep pain upon realizing missed opportunities to love, moments when they chose fear instead of courage, situations where things could have been better. But this pain doesn't come from external judgment. It comes from one's own conscience recognizing where it failed. It's a lament not for what God thinks of you, but for what you know you could have been. And it is precisely here that the desire to return is born. Many souls after this review voluntarily choose to reincarnate, not because they were condemned, but because they want a new chance to do things differently. They want to repair the pain caused, complete unlearned lessons, and balance energies that have become disharmonious. What we call karma is not divine vengeance, but the soul's own desire to evolve and redeem itself. Cayce always emphasized that the only judge that truly exists is our own expanded consciousness. And this judge is infinitely more compassionate than any human could be, but also infinitely more honest. He shows us not to destroy us, but to uplift us. With each review, the soul becomes wiser, more loving, closer to the divine perfection that is its ultimate destiny. One of the questions that most torments those who witness the death of a loved one is the suffering. Why would God allow a good person who lived with dignity to spend their last days or months in agony? Why debilitating illnesses, unbearable pain, physical degradation? Where is divine mercy in this seemingly cruel process? The answer, though difficult to accept initially, carries profound wisdom. The suffering that precedes death does not serve the body, which is already fulfilling its cycle of closure. It serves the soul, preparing it for the crossing. Every pain that traverses the physical being is, in fact, dissolving layers of attachment, burning away energetic impurities that the soul cannot take with it to the spiritual plane. Think of the soul as a traveler who needs to cross a strict border. Anything that is too dense, too heavy, cannot pass. Material attachments, deep fears, unresolved anger, pride nurtured for years, all of this needs to be left behind. And often, only through physical suffering do these bonds loosen. Illness forces a detachment that the person would never have the courage to make of their own accord. Does this change your perspective on suffering? If these revelations are expanding your awareness, show your support by liking and sharing this video with anyone who needs to understand the true meaning of the soul's journey. Cayce explained that there are souls who reach the end of their lives, carrying such heavy emotional burdens that if they departed without this purification process, they would remain trapped in lower dimensions, unable to ascend to the light. Physical suffering, however painful it may be to witness, is in fact an act of cosmic mercy. It is the last chance for cleansing before the great transition. Observe how people in terminal stages often undergo personality transformations. Those who were always harsh and critical suddenly open up to tenderness. Those who lived in bitterness find gratitude for the little things. Those who never forgave finally release old resentments. These changes are not coincidental. They are the direct result of the ego dissolution process that suffering brings about. There is also the karmic aspect of this purification. Some souls carry energetic debts from past lives that need to be balanced. Conscious and accepted suffering can settle these debts in an accelerated way, allowing the soul to advance in its evolution. That is why Cayce said that even the last breath is sacred, because every moment of pain accepted consciously is an opportunity for transmutation. This doesn't mean we should wish for suffering or deny palliative care. It means understanding that there is a greater purpose at work, and that our role as caregivers is to offer love, presence, and peace, not despair. When we cry in anger at the suffering of those we love, we are only seeing the physical aspect. When we manage to maintain faith and serenity, we are honoring the spiritual work that is happening beyond the visible. Often, the greatest gift we can give someone suffering at the end of life is not to try to eliminate all pain at any cost, but to be present, hold their hand and say, "I see you. I honor your process. You are not alone." This loving presence facilitates the soul's work, allowing purification to happen with less resistance. The body finally gave way. The heart stopped. Breathing ceased. For those left behind, this is the most painful moment, the definitive confirmation of loss. But for the one who has departed, it is the beginning of the greatest adventure. In the first minutes after clinical death, something extraordinary happens, and most people have no idea about it. The soul, now completely free from the physical body, does not immediately depart for other dimensions. It remains nearby, floating in a state of serene observation. From where it is, it can perfectly see the unfolding scene, the body it inhabited for so many years now motionless, the faces of loved ones contorted by pain, the attempts at resuscitation, or in more peaceful cases, the whispered prayers. But here's what few understand. The person who has just died is aware of all this. They desperately try to communicate that they are all right, that there is no reason for so much suffering. They try to touch, speak, embrace, but their hands pass through the bodies of the living like mist. Their voice makes no sound in the physical realm. This is one of the initial frustrations of the newly liberated soul, the inability to console those left behind. According to Cayce, many spirits remain until the funeral. They observe everything with a mixture of tenderness and bewilderment. They see who came, who didn't, who cries genuinely, who pretends. They hear the eulogies and are often astonished to discover how they were perceived by others. There is a natural curiosity in witnessing their own burial, in seeing how the life they lived affected the people around them. During this period of proximity to Earth, the soul is extremely sensitive to the energies of the living. Every thought directed towards it is perceived with crystal clarity. And here lies a crucial lesson. How we deal with someone's death directly affects that soul's journey. If we succumb to despair, irrational guilt, anger against God, or against the one who has departed, we create an energetic turbulence that confuses the spirit. The newly departed soul needs serenity to complete its journey. It needs to feel that it's okay to leave the physical world, that those who remain, although sad, are at peace. When family members succumb to fits of despair, shouting for the person to come back, blaming themselves for things they did or didn't do, this creates energetic cords that trap the spirit in an intermediate zone. Therefore, in the oldest spiritual traditions, there is always a period of serene prayers after death, not prayers of bargaining or despair, but of surrender and liberation. Go in peace. You have fulfilled your journey. We will be well. Go to the light. These words, spoken with sincerity, are like wind in the sails of the soul, propelling it towards its true destiny. Cayce especially warned about the guilt of the living. How many torture themselves thinking, if I had done this, if I had realized sooner, if I had said that. These thoughts not only torture those who remain, but create a heavy cloud around those who have departed. The soul feels this guilt and, in its compassion, often tries to linger longer than it should, attempting in some way to communicate that there is nothing to forgive. The best way to honor someone who has just passed away is to maintain faith, cultivate inner peace, and speak to that person as if they were listening because they are. Tell them you love them, but that you understand they need to move on. Give thanks for the life you shared. Release any resentment. And above all, give them permission to go. This act of conscious love is the greatest gift you can offer a soul in transition. After the period of stay close to Earth, when all farewells have been made and the soul finally accepts its new condition, the true journey to the afterlife begins. But here's what most religions have distorted over the centuries. There is no physical place called heaven or hell. What exists is something far more complex, just, and profoundly personal. When the soul definitively leaves the earthly sphere, it begins to move through vibrational frequencies. And here is the crucial revelation. Each soul is automatically drawn to the dimension that corresponds to its own state of consciousness. It's like tuning a radio. You can't hear a high-frequency station if your receiver is calibrated to a low frequency. Similarly, your soul cannot access higher dimensions if its vibration is still dense. Those who have lived lives filled with love, compassion, service to others, and a sincere pursuit of spiritual evolution awaken in luminous planes. Cayce described these places as dimensions of indescribable beauty, where light itself is alive and conscious, where every thought manifests instantly, where there is no separation between you and all that exists. It is a state of continuous ecstasy, of profound connection with the divine source. But what about those who lived in darkness? Those who intentionally hurt others, who fed on hatred, greed, and cruelty? They too are not thrown into a fiery hell by a vengeful God. Instead, they awaken in dimensions that perfectly reflect the inner state in which they lived. These are dark places, not because God created them that way, but because these souls can only perceive darkness. It is consciousness itself creating the world around it. Imagine waking up in a place where you are surrounded only by people as selfish, angry, and destructive as you once were. There is no love there because you did not cultivate love. There is no light because you chose to live in darkness. There is no peace because you never sought inner peace. That is true hell. Not an externally imposed punishment, but the perfect and inevitable reflection of who you chose to be. But here lies the supreme beauty of divine justice. No soul remains eternally trapped in lower dimensions. At every moment it has the choice to raise its consciousness. It can begin to desire love, forgiveness, light. And the instant that genuine desire arises, spiritual guides appear to help it ascend. What we call purgatory is not a prison, but a school of spiritual rehabilitation. Cayce explained that there are countless dimensions between what we would call hell and paradise. Most souls do not go to the extremes. They awaken at intermediate levels, compatible with their mixed evolution, where there is both light and shadow, joy and challenge. On these planes, they continue learning, growing, preparing for the next incarnation, or to ascend to higher states. What defines where you go is not your religious beliefs or lack thereof. It's not how many times you went to church or what name you gave to God. The only determining factor is the true state of your consciousness, measured by the love you cultivated, the compassion you lived, the truth you sought. An atheist who lived with integrity and kindness can awaken to much higher dimensions than a religious person who used faith as a mask to judge and condemn. This understanding completely transforms our relationship with life. We don't live well out of fear of punishment or hope of reward. We live well because we understand that we are literally building the world where we will awaken after death. Every loving thought, every compassionate action, every moment of forgiveness is raising our vibrational frequency, ensuring that when we leave this body, we will awaken in a place of light, peace, and infinite joy. Death is not the mystery we've been taught to fear. It is, in fact, the moment when the soul finally remembers who it always was. All the signs were there, whispering throughout life, preparing us for this inevitable return to our spiritual home. Cayce didn't keep this knowledge to himself on a whim, but because he knew that humanity needed to mature spiritually to understand the truth without distorting it. Now you have access to this ancestral knowledge. The only question that remains is, what will you do with it? To live consciously means to honor each day as the sacred opportunity that it is. We don't know the date marked on our spiritual contract, but we know it exists. Therefore, don't leave for tomorrow the love you can offer today. Don't postpone the forgiveness that can set you free now. Don't hold back words of gratitude that can warm hearts in this instant. Because when your soul awakens on the other side, you won't remember material achievements or the titles you accumulated. You will only remember how you made people feel, and that will determine the world you built for yourself in eternity.